Check out FlipsideGaming.com for all your gaming needs. Use the promo code HEROES to save 10% on all orders over $10. From Thursday, November 24th, 2022 through Monday, November 28th, 2022, Flipside Gaming is holding their Black Friday sale. There, you'll see the Black Friday sale tab where there's a variety of discounted products, including things like the Brothers War Set booster boxes, Warhammer 40k Commander decks, and much more. If you use the Heroes promo code, you can get a further discount on those already discounted items. See the link in the description below. Hey there, this is John from Heroes and Legends, and welcome to another edition of the Magic the Gathering Market Watch. A lot to talk about this week. In the wake of the release of the Brothers War, we are seeing a number of cards moving for many different reasons. Since the market is picking up this week, we are going back to the $2 threshold. We're not going to talk about a card unless it's moving at least $2 up or down. And yes, we do have some cards from the Brothers War to talk about today. Quickly, before we get into it, a couple things. First off, I do want to say thank you to one of the viewers, J-Dub, for a super thanks that they gave during last week's video. Thank you, J-Dub. I always appreciate those super thanks tips. They do help the channel. I'm just putting that money right back into it to do some new content. In fact, we'll have some things coming up very soon. If you'd like to give a super thanks, you can do so by clicking the tab under the video. However, even though it's always appreciated, it's not necessary. If you just want to watch the videos, maybe give us a like, a comment, subscribe if you haven't. That helps the channel a whole lot. So thank you to everybody out there. Again, thanks, J-Dub. And one more thing, as you know, if you go to FlipsideGaming.com, you can use the Heroes promo code to save 10% on orders over $10. Now through Monday, November 28th, they are holding their Black Friday sale. So if you go to the website, they have a special Black Friday tab, and there's a lot of items that are discounted there. You can still use the Heroes promo code, though, on orders over $10. So you can get an additional discount on top of the discount that's already there. They have a lot of things there, like the Brothers War Set booster boxes. They have the regular edition of the Warhammer 40k Commander decks back in stock there as well on sale. I know a lot of people were looking for those. They do have collector's editions. They're not under the sales tab. They're under the pre-order tab if you're looking for them. But you could still use the Heroes promo code on them to get the 10% off. And remember, for orders over $100 or consist only of singles, shipping will be free in the United States. Also, whenever you use the Heroes promo code, it does support the channel, which is always appreciated. So thank you. And without any further ado, let's get into it. We'll begin, as we always do, with the Standard Legal Spotlight. This is where we look at the standard legal cards moving the most this week. There's one moving down. There's 5 cards from the Brothers War moving up. And yeah, they're trying to find their price point based on the early play they're seeing. That's why they are creeping up. But let's see what's happening. Liliana of the Veil from Innistrad is the card moving down. It is down 413 this week to 49.57. This was reprinted in Dominaria United. And that did make it standard and Pioneer legal for the first time, but it also added a lot of new copies to the marketplace. And that's why this has been soft. Standard is changing, of course, with the release of the Brothers War. But I'm sure this card is still going to see play. It's been in popular decks like Grixis Midrange and Rakdos Midrange, and it's in a lot of other decks in Standard now too. In Pioneer, it's in Rakdos Midrange, Mono Black Midrange, and more there. And as you know, this has been a solid Modern card. It's in Jund builds, and in fact, plus it's also in a number of Commander decks, including Tergrid God of Fright / Tergrid's Lantern. First card moving up is Awaken the Woods. This goes up 204 this week to $20.09. This is already starting to show up in some standard builds, including Naya Midrange, and I have seen some players trying this in Legacy 5-Color Zenith. We'll have to see if that sticks. When it comes to the Commander, this is showing up in a number of builds, including Titania Voice of Gaia from the Brothers War main set, and Titania Nature's Force, which is one of the Eternal Legal cards from there. And beyond that, I have seen some players getting this to upgrade one of the Warhammer 40k Commander decks, Tyranid Swarm, or putting it in fresh builds around a card from there, Magus Lucia Kane. Next, we have Misery's Shadow. It goes up $3.35 this week to $4.96. Here is another pretty pushed card in black that is seeing some immediate play in a few different standard builds, including Mono Black Midrange. In Pioneer, this quickly was slotted into the already popular Rakdos Midrange builds, and it is starting to appear in other decks there too. Plus, it is already showing up in some Commander decks, including one around another card from the Brothers War, Mishra Tamer of Mcfadden. Aside from that, it's a good upgrade to the Brothers War Commander deck Mishra's Burnished Banner, and it's used in new builds around a card from there, Ashnod the Uncaring. Additionally, I have seen some pick this up to upgrade a Warhammer 40k Commander deck too, Forces of the Imperium, or add it to fresh builds around a card from there, Inquisitor Greyfax. Next, we have Mishra Claimed by Gix. This is up $9.99 this week to $34.23. I have seen some players trying this in standard sacrifice builds and more, I've also seen this in Pioneer John mid-range already. It is getting a lot of commander play, though, out of the gate. It's quickly becoming a popular commander, and it's in the 99 of some builds there, too, including Mishra Tamer Mcfadden and Megatron Tyrant, which is one of the Transformer cards from the Brothers War. It's also another good upgrade to Mishra's Burnished Banner, and it's a new builds around a card from there, Mishra Eminent One. We got a Mishra, why not an Urza? Urza Lord Protector is up $11.97 this week to $39. This is getting early standard play too in Azorius Control and more, and some are even trying this in Pioneer Azorius Control, but like the previous card, it's also become a very popular card in Commander quickly. You see this as a commander, and it's in the 99 of many builds there as well. Good upgrade to the Brothers War Commander deck, Urza's Iron Alliance, and it's in fresh builds around Urza Chief Artificer from there. Plus, you see this in builds around a card from the main set, Urza Prince of Krug. These meld cards are hot right now. Titania, Voice of Gaia, is our last card in this section today. It is up $18.42 to $30.29. Now, I will say, even though some of these cards are spiking pretty aggressively, a lot of packs are being opened right now, so I do expect some stabilization. So stay close to these prices. They're going to move quite a bit before all is said and done. But with that being said, keep an eye on this one. It is early, but it is starting to show up in a number of formats. In Standard, I've seen this in 4-color Windgrace and other decks there. I've also seen some trying this card in Pioneer builds and even Legacy decks. In Modern, it's showing up in Sultai Aggro. Like some other cards in this section today, it's also a popular commander, and it's in the 99 of a number of builds there, including Titania Nature's Force and Tokasia Digsite Mentor, which is from the Brothers War main set. That takes us to the Pioneer Legal Spotlight. We have some cards going down, one moving up this week. First one moving down is Rakdos Lord of Riots. This is the copy from the Ravnica Allegiance Rakdos Guild kit. This particular one only comes in foil. It goes down $245 this week to $14.80. So you might remember this spiked aggressively not too long ago, but now it is retracting as the market is moving on to other things. Demons were hot for a while, thanks to the Warhammer 40k commander deck that did have a demon sub-theme, the Ruinous Powers. Many players were picking this up to upgrade that deck or add it to fresh builds around a couple cards from there. Be'lakor the Dark Master, and to a lesser degree, Abaddon the Despoiler. This also does continue to be a popular commander for demon builds. Shivan Dragon, the copy from Revised, is down $247 this week to $15.24. This is getting a reprint in the Secret Lair 30th Anniversary Countdown kit. There is another copy of this, however, moving up, which we're going to see later in the video. When it comes to gameplay, it does get a little bit of commander play in various decks. Ulamog, the Ceaseless Hunger, is down $372 this week to $55.72, and this is retracting after some recent increases. In Pioneer, this is in Gruul Ramp. Modern, you see this in Mono Green Tron and Eldrazi Tron. Legacy, it's a Mono Green Cloudpost. It's even getting some additional commander play now around a card from the Brothers War. Liberator, Urza's Battlethopter. And the last card moving down in this section is Mox Amber. The Brothers War Retro Frame Artifact copy is down $222 this week to $30.68. The Dominaria copy is down $4.59 to $40.67. So the reprint is finding its price point, and the original copy is moving down because of the reprint. It does see a fair amount of modern play in the grinding station builds, although you are not seeing as many of those in the current meta compared to really just a few weeks ago. It is, however, also in a variety of commander decks, including a new one, Urza Lord Protector. And the only card moving up in this section today is Darksteel Forge from Fifth Dawn. It goes up $252 this week to $23.56. This is getting more commander play now. It is a good upgrade to the Warhammer 40k commander deck Necron Dynasties, and it's in fresh builds around Imhotep the Stormlord from there. However, as you can imagine, now the Brothers War is pushing this. It is a good upgrade to both the Urza's Iron Alliance and Mishra's Burnished Banner commander decks. It's in new builds around the front-facing commanders from both of those decks, Urza Chief Artificer and Mishra Eminent One. Additionally, this is in builds around cards from the main set, though, too. Urza Lord Protector, Liberator, Urza's Battlethopter, Urza Prince of Krug, and I've even seen this in commander builds around one of the Transformers cards, Optimus Prime Hero. And it did get a Command Zone mention this week in the episode talking about decks built around those Transformers. They had said that this could be good in a deck around Ratchet Field Medic. Here we are at the Modern Legal Spotlight. We got some cards going down, some going up. First card moving down is Commandeer. It goes down $213 to $20.40. This does get a little commander play. Usually when you see it, though, it's in Yuriko the Tiger's Shadow builds. Of course, Denizen of the Deep, that copy from Portal Second Age, is down $259 this week to $13.08 in theory. But like I always say, when it comes to this card, the pricing has been very turbulent in general, but it's really not realistic. It is inflated due to the fact that there's just not many copies for sale online, and some of the copies that are out there have been overpriced. Nobody's paying $13.08 for this card. It does get a tad bit of commander play, but you can get other copies of this card for just a few cents. Kozilek, Butcher of Truth, the Modern Masters 2015 copy is down $209 to $31.89. The Rise of the Eldrazi copy is down $269 to $44.99. Now, this was reprinted in Double Masters 2022, which is why it has been so soft recently. In Modern, sometimes this is in mono black coffers, and it is seeing some more commander play now and builds around Liberator, Urza's Battlethopter. This is the Brothers War Retro Frame Artifact copy of Thorn of Amethyst. It goes down $333 this week to $353, trying to find its price point. When it comes to gameplay, sometimes you see this in Painter sideboards and Legacy. In Vintage, this is in Prison, Aggro, and Combo shops. And I have seen some adding this to the Urza's Iron Alliance commander deck, or putting it in fresh builds around Urza Chief Artificer, but it can also be found in some other new commander decks around cards from the main set. Queen Caleb Ben Krug, and Liberator, Urza's Battlethopter. First card moving up in this section is a Chroma's Memorial. This is the one from Magic 2013. It goes up $281 this week to $16.99. This is seeing more commander play now, too, as an upgrade to Urza's Iron Alliance, and it's in fresh builds around Urza Chief Artificer. It's also in some new commander builds around cards from the main set. Myrel Shield of Argiv and Urza Prince of Krug. Gemstone Caverns, the original copy from Time Spiral, goes up $362 this week to $47.99. This has been a relatively popular modern card. It's in Hardened Scales, Crashing Footfalls, and more. This also gets a good amount of commander play in a variety of builds, including Yuriko the Tiger Shadow. Arkham Dagston, the Double Masters copy is up $538 this week to $12.95. The Cold Snap copy is up $684 to $15. This is also seeing more commander play now, as you can imagine. It is a good upgrade to Mishra's Burnished Banner and Urza's Iron Alliance. It's in new builds around cards from those decks. Mishra Eminent One and Ashnod the Uncaring from the Mishra deck. Urza Chief Artificer from the Urza deck. It's also in some builds around cards from the main set. Urza Lord Protector and Urza Prince of Krug. Even Arkham Dagston commander decks are getting a little bump in play due to the new tools that just came out. And the last card in this section is Mycosynth Golem. The list copy is up $330 this week to $23.32. The copy from Fifth Dawn is up $823 to $27.68. Again, a card moving due to an increase in commander play. This is a good upgrade to Urza's Iron Alliance, and it's in new builds around Urza Chief Artificer. Also in commander builds around cards from the main set, as you can imagine. Liberator, Urza's Battlethopter, Urza Prince of Krug, and it's in the Megatron Tyrant decks too. Additionally, I've seen this in fresh builds around a card from the Forces of the Imperium deck as well. That is Belisarius Call. And that takes us to the Vintage Spotlight. So this is where we talk about cards that see play in Legacy, Vintage, or cards that are just popular among collectors this week. Prices in this section, at least at times, might be a little more reminiscent of what you might see on a price tracking website, since some of the cards that we talk about in this section don't get a lot of sales in any given week. And when that happens, we do have to lean a little bit harder on asking price. Also, for some of the older, more iconic cards, the price you see on the screen might fall somewhere in between the price of a high-grade raw and high-grade graded copy. But if recent sales aren't at least somewhere in the middle between those two prices, or just in general, recent sales are not lining up with what you see on the screen, I will point that out. Why not start off with the revised dual land? This is Savannah. It's up $225 this week to $356.25. Not a big increase when you look at the percentage here, but it is saying something that it's not moving down. When it comes to other copies of this card this week, the beta one is jumping. Alpha and Unlimited are relatively steady. Obviously, these dual lands are expensive cards, and they see a ton of play in Legacy, Vintage, and Commander. A little backstory here. When the Magic 30th Anniversary Edition was announced, many felt that the revised dual lands may take a financial hit, since they are the most abundant of all the printings. Remember, when it comes to that product, dual lands are technically rares, but they double the frequency that they appear compared to other rares. Even though the 30th Anniversary product is not technically legal to play, most players don't want the duals, just want them for Commander, and there are play groups that will welcome the printing from this product. Others that won't, though. Initially, these revised duals did lose value. Once people saw the drop, though, they started buying into the dip. And in a lot of cases over the last few weeks, we've seen these cards stabilize and even start to move back up again. In other cases, however, though, we are still seeing them losing some value. Now, I did see many articles and posts, you probably did too, saying that these revised dual lands have lost 50% of their value. but in reality, the drop was only about 10 to 15%. Now, buy list prices were down about 50%, which is very different from actual prices. And Alpha Investments did discuss that in a video recently, but it appears that maybe some viewers misunderstood the difference between buy list drops and price drops. Ultimately, at the end of the day, it's going to be very interesting to see where these do shake out. We've just never really seen anything like this before. Mycosynth Lattice, the copy from Darksteel, is up $3.46 this week to $40.98. In Legacy, this is in Colorless Cloud Post, and Vintage, it's in Prison Shops. But as you can imagine, the Brothers War is pushing this in Commander. It's a good upgrade to Urza's Iron Alliance and Mishra's Burnished Banner. It's in fresh builds around Urza Chief Artificer, Ashnod the Uncaring, Mishra Eminent One. Also in Commander decks around cards from the main set, Urza Lord Protector, Urza Prince of Krug. And it did get a mention on the Command Zone podcast this week as something you might want for a Commander deck around one of the Transformers, Jetfire and Genius Scientist. Mox Opal's on the move. The Double Masters copy is up $2.32 this week to $73.94. The Scars of Mirrodin copy up $2.38 to $72.99. And the Modern Masters 2015 copy is up $3.69 to $72.99 as well. In Legacy, this is in Painter, Mono White Hammer Time, and more. Vintage, it's in Paradoxical Outcome and 8-cast. And again, Commander is pushing this now too. It is another good upgrade to Urza's Iron Alliance, Mishra's Burnished Banner. Also new Commander builds around Urza Chief Artificer and Mishra Eminent One. Plus, it's in some Commander decks around cards from the main set, Urza Lord Protector, and Urza Prince of Krug again. Triumph of St. Catherine is up $4.74 this week to $23.20. This is from the Forces of the Imperium Commander deck. It does get play in fresh builds around some cards from there, like Inquisitor Greyfax and Marnius Calgar, but it's in other builds in the format too. However, now it is starting to see some Legacy play as a potential finisher in some builds, and that is making collectors take notice of this card. It's been in builds like Jeskai Control, Jeskai Stoneblade, and Azorius Miracles Control. Seasoned Dungeoneer. This is up $4.86 this week to $5.72. This is from the Commander Legends Battle for Baldur's Gate Party Time Commander deck. And this does see some Commander play, of course. But Legacy, again, is what's moving this card. It's in Mono White Stoneblade builds, and those are performing very well right now in the meta. MTG Goldfish recently featured an article about the impact of this card, as well as another card we're going to see in just a moment, on the Legacy format. And sure, that could have brought a little more attention to this as well. Here's another revised dual land that is moving up. It is Tundra, up $5.21 this week to $4.86.68. White Plume Adventurer. Now, this is another card that was in that MTG Goldfish article I just mentioned. It is up $7.30 this week to $9. You see this in Legacy Mono White Stoneblade as well. Sometimes people feel like Legacy doesn't drive card prices, but it is important to remember that the interest isn't just among players that want to play Legacy. It's also among speculators and people that just want the hot card. They have that FOMO. They're afraid it's going to get more and more expensive and they need to get it before it gets too high. So there's a lot of driving factors when a card becomes good in Legacy or Vintage that go beyond just gameplay. This is also getting some additional Commander plays and upgrade to Forces of the Imperium, and it's in fresh builds around Inquisitor Greyfax. The rest of the cards moving up in this section are all from Unlimited, so I won't keep saying that. This is Psionic Blast from that set. It goes up $10.83 to $77.74. Force of Nature. This is up $27.94 to $74.50. Actually, though, high-grade Raws can hit almost $85, and a graded 9 recently sold for $290. Next is Savannah Lions, up $103.50 to $346.50. Is that for real? Well, high-grade Raws can break about $250. I haven't seen a high-grade graded copy sell for a while, but when one does, it could hit or maybe even surpass this price. Next, we have that Shivan Dragon I promised you. It's up $242.87 this week to $499.99. But this is actually closer to the price you would expect to pay for a high-grade raw copy. A graded 9 recently sold for about $550. And the last card in this section is Chaos Orb. It goes up $506.29 this week to $1,649.99. In reality, high-grade raws can sell for about $13.80. I haven't seen any high-grade graded copies sell for a while again, but this price is not out of the question when one does. That takes us to the Commander Spotlight. Now, all the cards in this section are moving, at least in part because of Commander, but that might not be the only reason, and in some cases, Commander might not even be the key driver, but I'll let you know as we go through. Goblin Sharpshooter. This is the one from Commander 2013. It goes up $2.01 to $18.15. Good upgrade to Tyranid Swarm, And it's in many new commander builds around Geierson, Star, and Kellermorph from there. Reaver Titan, this is up 231 to 637. This one's from Forces of the Imperium, and of course it is in fresh builds around a couple cards from there. Inquisitor Greyfax and Marneus Kelgar again. But I've also seen this used as an upgrade to one of the other Warhammer decks, the Ruinous Powers, and it's a new builds around Abaddon the Despoiler from that deck. On top of that, you guessed it, there's another commander deck that might want this as an upgrade, Mishra's Burnished Banner. And as you would imagine, it's also in fresh builds around Mishra Eminent One. But that's not all, I'm also seeing this in commander decks around Optimus Prime Hero too. Mental Note, this goes up $2.32 this week to $3.48. Older cards yet to be reprinted. It does get a little commander play in a variety of decks, but Pauper is really the key driver here this time. The Pauper meta changed not too long ago with a series of bannings, and now Dimir Control is performing very well in the format. This card is found in those builds. Sakashima's Student, this is the one from Plane Chase 2012. Haven't seen this one in a while. It goes up $2.60 to $24. Now this lost a good amount of value once it did appear in the list. Now it is rebounding slightly. You see this in some different commander builds, but usually when it shows up, it's in Yuriko the Tiger's Shadow. Norwood Priestess, another older card yet to be reprinted. It goes up $2.92 this week to $121.37. And sure, this does see a tad bit of commander play, but the reason it's been so expensive is because it is very hard to find in high grade online. Next is Biotransference. This has been hot for a little while now. It goes up $3.93 this week to $19.48. It is from Necron Dynasties. It's in fresh builds around some cards from there, as you could imagine. Imhotep the Stormlord, Zarek the Silent King, Trazyn the Infinite, and Rakhyr the Traveler. There's another reason, though, this card is heating up currently, and that is because the Brothers War is an artifact-centric set, resulting in this seeing even more play in Commander. Again, some are picking this up to upgrade Urza's Iron Alliance and Mishra's Burnished Banner. Others are adding this to fresh builds around Urza Chief Artificer, Ashnod the Uncaring, and Mishra Eminent One. By this point, the usual suspects. I'm also seeing this in Commander builds around cards from the main set, Mishra Tamer of Mcfadden, and Mishra Claimed by Gix. And the last card in the section is Crypto Thrall. This goes up $6.98 this week to $9.50. This is also from Necron Dynasties. It too is in a lot of new Commander builds around cards from there. Imhotep the Stormlord, Zarek the Silent King, Trazyn the Infinite, Illuminator Zurus, and Rakhyr the Traveler. But again, the Brothers War is pushing this now in Commander. It is a good upgrade to Urza's Iron Alliance. It's in new builds around Urza Chief Artificer. And you see this in Commander builds around cards from the main set. Liberator, Urza's Battlethopter, Mishra Tamer of Mcfadden, and Urza Prince of Krug. That's going to take us to the premium spotlight. And as always, a little bit of dessert after a big day of looking at the market. We're going to look at a couple premium cards. I did select 2 this time. Now, there's always premium cards spiking and dropping. There's all sorts of turbulence in this part of the market. We can't possibly cover it all. But I like to pick at least one card every week to feature so you have an idea of what's going on in this part of the market. And I do try to pick cards here that feel like they're moving substantially. Cards that aren't going to just go back the next week, or maybe they're targets of buyouts. So let's take a look at what I chose this week. First, we have Mycosynth Golem. This is the foil copy from 5th Dawn. It goes up $10.28 this week to $70, at least in theory. Is that for real? Well, high-grade copies are selling for about $40. I do think sellers are trying to stay ahead of the spike on this one, listing these at higher prices. And the last card today is Mishra, Claimed by Gix, the foil copy from the Brothers War. It goes up $12.03 this week to $40. So is that price for real? Well, yeah, guess what? This truly is the average price when you look at current sales. Alright, that's going to do it for this episode of the Magic the Gathering Market Watch. If you stuck with me to the end, I do appreciate it. Thank you for being here. Until next time, stay safe out there. Thanks for watching. Please remember to like and subscribe, and have a great day. Hey, thanks for watching. This video is made possible through the generous support of viewers like you on Patreon. Check out the description below for links to our Patreon page, as well as our Amazon affiliate store, where a small percentage of all sales will also help support the channel. Finally, if you haven't had a chance yet to subscribe, hit that subscribe button so you don't miss any of the new videos on Heroes and Legends. Talk to you again soon, and have a great day.